What's up, guys, and hello. I'm going to be talking to you all about my overall thoughts of Tactical Games Nationals. This video is a long time coming. I should have made it a while ago, but I didn't. So here we go. I got third in the nation at Tactical Games Nationals, and I am so proud of that. I have some things I want to talk about with my training in a little bit that I would definitely change, but I worked really hard for this. There's a little bit of sweat and tears in there. And thank goodness for the people cheering me on, because that was really difficult. Some of these events were really hard, but I am very thankful for this. I had a lot of great people behind me, rooting me on and supporting me in this. So thank you to all of you who are always supporting me through this, because it gets very hard at times, and there's some times where you want to quit, and you know that good things are going to come from doing this. It's only going to make me better and stronger mentally and physically, so thank you to everyone. I kind of want to talk about overall how Nationals went, what it looked like from an athlete's perspective, what I did to prepare that was different from last time, what gear I used this time, what I'm planning on doing for regionals for my next competition in February, and what gear I want to use for that, what kind of things I want to have in my kit that are different. Let's get into it. Tactical Games Nationals. This was a 3-day long event, and it was held at the Staccato Ranch. There were various parts of it that were held at a different ranch, and the name is now escaping me, but I'll try to find it and I'll put it in the comments below. There were different locations we had to go to on the first day, and the second 2 days were held at Staccato Ranch. There were lots of different events, a lot more physical type events than shooting and physical events. At regionals, there was a lot more physical and shooting events because it rained so hard that we couldn't go running or do any of the other things that they wanted to do. So this time they really incorporated that, and I have to say, it definitely kicked my butt a little bit. It made me realize I need to train a little bit different, and I'll get into that in just a second. The first day involved a long distance shooting portion, a creek run, which was pistol and rifle shooting through a course, and an obstacle course, and a run. So there were 4 events on the first day. They were all in different locations. We had to drive about an hour to get from one place to the other, but the events themselves were awesome, and they did such a great job. And I can only imagine having that job and trying to figure out like what's going to be cool for everyone. Distancing was hard. It kind of made us all cluster in one part of the day at the long range shooting portion, but the events themselves were still a lot of fun. The run was through the woods, and that was amazing. That was the best run I've ever been on. It was almost 4 miles, and just through creeks and downstairs and upstairs. It was hard, but it was awesome. I think the furthest distance was out to like 677 yards. I did not have the scope for that. I was meaning to change from my 1-6 to a 1-10. And we just didn't get around to it, so I did the best I could. And then the creek run was so fun. That was probably my favorite event, because it was rifle shooting from a barricade, and then you had to run through the woods and shoot the targets as you saw them. So fun. I loved it. It was a blast. And then the obstacle course was like a military type obstacle course, and it was terrifying. Like, I had to overcome some fears, especially in the part where I had to jump from one bar to the next. Panic. So the first day was awesome. It was just a lot more physically taxing for me. And then going into the second day, my knees were shot. The second day, oh, I can't remember. There were probably like 3 or 4 events that day. I have never cried in a workout, and I cried in the last workout of the day was sandbags. And sandbags are just, they're my kryptonite. They're my downfall. They're so hard. I need to go into it and change my mentality and just be like, I'm gonna crush this freaking sandbag instead of being afraid of them, because I know that would help a lot more. But yeah, I definitely cried. I pushed through it, and I did it, and here we are. The last day, there were probably 3 or 4 events. We had some wheelbarrows with like weights on the front. This was probably the second day. I just can't remember what's what. We had some sandbag rolling. We had rope climbs. We had this thing called the weave where you had to get a sandbag over, then your body, then you had to go through the middle of the bars. And there's a whole thing. I'm going to be posting the videos, but it was definitely difficult. And again, this time I didn't want to know my score at all. I think that's going to be a regular thing. I don't want to know where I'm placing. I just want to go because I think that'll mess with my head. And so Carell knew the whole time. And right before the last 2 events, he grabbed me and he was like, if you want to continue being in the position that you are in, I need you to go. And I was like, okay. So I pushed as hard as I could in those last 2 events and I ended up with 3rd place. And I am so thankful for that. He said that me and 2 of the other girls were just like switching back and forth, and I just laid it all out there and I just went for it. That was awesome. I had a blast with it. It's 3 days long, and those 3 days are just mentally and physically taxing. And to be perfectly honest, I hate being uncomfortable. I hate pushing myself past a point where I am dying. I hate it, but I know it's good for me. And I know that it's gonna make me better, so I continue doing it. It's the worst feeling, but I'll do it because I know I'm gonna be a better athlete. I met so many awesome people and I am so thankful for that time and Tactical Games for putting on this huge event and making it fun for everyone because it was great. They did an awesome job, and Staccato Ranch had an incredible facility. So if you ever get a chance, go out there because it's great. Some things I did to prepare for nationals versus what I did for regionals. So what I did for nationals is I took a little bit more rest than I did for regionals. I was probably working out 3 to 4 times a week intensely, and then running 1 to 2 times per week. I was giving my body a lot more rest this time. I was still working on my mobility. I was still doing dry fire training, still doing competitions like USPSA competitions, but I think that kind of bit me in the butt because I got to nationals and I was so out of breath and tired from these events that I know I should have done what I did for regionals. What I did for regionals is I was working out probably 4 to 5 to 6 times per week, and I was running 2 to 3 times per week. So I was much more consistent with my training in regionals, and I wanted to do this as an experiment anyways. I was so tired though that I was like, well, maybe if I give myself a little bit more rest training for nationals, I'll feel way better. That wasn't the case for me. No, my rest comes from how well I'm sleeping, how well I'm eating, my mobility and stretching and just recovery. I didn't train with a heavier vest like I did for regionals. I didn't use the 15-pound vest, which I wish I would have done. I was just using my 12-pound. So whenever I got to nationals, it didn't feel like it was a part of me. It felt heavy every time I put it on. So please train with a heavier vest. I was still doing tactical classes, which are like CrossFit mixed with strongman. I was still doing CrossFit classes. I was still running intervals and long distance. It just wasn't as consistent as it was for regionals. And so that experiment did what I needed it to do. I'm definitely gonna be training way more consistently like I did for regionals, and I'm gonna be using a heavier vest again. 4 top things I'm gonna suggest to you guys for training, and these are things that I've mentioned before. It's just a little bit of a change from knowing what I did in regionals and what I did for nationals. So number 1 is training consistently, making sure you're on a good schedule, and a good schedule with a variety of different things. Make sure you're doing your main lifts, make sure you're doing metabolic training of some kind and cardio. Make sure that you're doing dry fire along with exercise so that you can find those points where when you have to go shoot after you exercise, you have to find your breath to be able to focus accurately on shooting. The second thing, train heavier. Like I said, you should be training with a heavier vest because it's going to make that vest feel like it's part of you whenever you get to the games. Add whatever you need to into your vest to make it heavier, but do everything in it. Walk your dogs, go for runs, work out in it. If you're working out at the gym, if you're working out at the CrossFit gym, if you're working out in your backyard, whatever you're doing, try to wear it as much as possible so that you get used to the weight of it. Men's vests need to be 15 pounds and women's need to be 12. So add 3 to 5 pounds to that and work with that so that you feel like that vest does not weigh anything whenever you get to the games. With all of your other weight training, train way heavier. They have specific weights for each division. And if you don't know what those are, reach out to someone who has done the tactical games and we can always give you an idea of what those weights look like. In the tactical division, I think the heaviest sandbag I used was 80 pounds. When I was in intermediate, the heaviest sandbag I used was 60 pounds. The weights obviously go up from intermediate to tactical to 40 and 50 plus all the way up to elite, which I think their heaviest was 200 or 250 for men. I don't know, something crazy. But train heavier in all of your weights so that when you get to the games, it all feels way easier. It's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna feel way easier. The third thing is work on controlling your breathing. Practice meditative breathing at home, like calm yourself down right before you go to bed. Start practicing your breathing to like slow your heart rate down and help you fall asleep. When you're working out, my PT told me you have 4 gears of breathing, and I talked about this in my last overall thoughts video for regionals, and you have 4 gears of breathing. And your first gear is you're breathing in and out through your nose at a nice steady pace. Second gear is breathing in and out through your nose, but you're kind of picking up the pace a little bit, so you're like. Third gear is breathing in through your nose, out through your mouth. And then fourth gear is you are just straight mouth breathing. What my goal is to do is start off in first gear, and I don't want to get past third gear. If I'm breathing super heavy, I want to try to control my breath and breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. And that's what I want to maintain through all of my workouts. That's what I do in my training. That's what I do when I get to the tactical games. Another thing that really helps with that is pushing your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and it forces you to breathe through your nose. It also helps stabilize you too. So when I'm shooting, I push my tongue to the roof of my mouth and it helps stabilize me and it helps me breathe calmly through my nose. So while you're training, while you're shooting, try that. Just steadily breathe through your nose and calm yourself down and focus on your shots. The biggest thing whenever you're at the tactical games, shooting accurately, and I would base my shots off of where my breath was rising and falling each time I went to the firing line. So breathing is a huge portion to be able to help you shoot accurately. Number 4, rest, mobility, recovery. Make sure you're getting good sleep. Make sure you're stretching, doing your mobility work. Make sure that you're eating well, you're eating enough for what your body needs. You should be able to tell if you don't have any energy, you probably need more food. You probably need more rest. Make sure you're getting in good whole foods, a lot of good proteins, fats, and carbs. Drink a crap ton of water. It'll just make you feel better mentally and physically in your workouts. Make sure that if you cannot get in enough nutrients, that you're supplementing with something that will help you do that. Some things that really helped me out during the tactical games. My Fieldcraft bags. These duffel bags are made with a waterproof material. They have handles on the long side, they have handles on the short side, and this bigger duffel bag has backpack straps. These helped me so much because I was so tired at certain points that I just didn't want to sling something over my shoulder, so carrying it straight on my back was so helpful. And they have the quick pull zipper tabs on these too, just like they do on their EDC bags. Makes it easier to open up the bag, close the bag. They got large zippers that don't snag. It's got Velcro on the top of the flap on the back side so that you can put your med kit on there, whatever other bags you have on there. And I love that the little bags that are included have these straps so you can just yank it off. Isn't that sweet? So if you're in a hurry and you just need to yank it off, perfect. It's got MOLLE on there for anything that you have MOLLE clips or MOLLE straps on. There's also MOLLE on the outside so that you can attach things to the outside of your bag if you want to. Inside there's waterproof material in there as well. But I'm telling you, these backpack straps were literally a lifesaver. But when it gets wet, nothing in here gets wet. This is great. I can throw it around. Nothing happens to it. You can probably tell it's a little dirty. Maybe not. But we're in the dust, we're in the dirt, and this thing holds up to everything, and I absolutely love it. Different things that I use for dry firing at home are my Ben Stoker little paper poppers. So I've taped these up, there's tape on the back. I tape these up all over our bookshelf and I practice with these. I practice at different distances. These help out so much with transitioning and accuracy. They don't use these at the tactical games. It just helps me because I'm a USPSA shooter. It helps me visualize different targets, so that's why I like them. Other things, my friend and coach at the CrossFit gym that I go to printed out the targets that they use at the tactical games. I think the tactical games actually has these on their website. This one's awful, but there's different shapes that are easier and harder to aim at, and I just post these up around the house too, and I use them for practice for my rifle and pistol as well. Typically on these targets, if there's 2 shapes on there, you have to get a certain number in each one. That's why there's typically 2 on each target. But I'm practicing a lot with these, and these are extremely helpful because you never know what kind of target they're gonna throw out there that you have to aim at, and you wanna be prepared because some of these, like this slanted one, some of them are way harder than others, and you want to be prepared for all of that. Some different gear that I am using. So I was using, this is my Glock 34, it's a Gen 4. This is my original Glock that I have been shooting with. At Tactical Games Regionals and Nationals, I was shooting with our Gen 5, which I love. It has a Timney trigger on it, has a really aggressive grip on it. I was using a Delta Point Pro red dot, and I love it. It has a huge window, but this time I wanted something a little bit different, and I wanted to go back to my original gun because Corel had this engraved for me, and I love it. If you can see that, it says Shield Maiden on it. We got this all fixed up with a Timney trigger as well. It doesn't have the stock trigger on it anymore, so it has a lot faster response than the stock trigger does. And then my coach Eddie put a more aggressive grip on here for me as well because my hands get so sweaty and it's so frustrating whenever I'm going to shoot, and I feel like I have to like reset because my hands are so sweaty. And at the tactical games, you can't use that hand goopy chalk that we use at USPSA matches. So having an aggressive grip is extremely helpful. And then I also have the Trijicon SRO 2.5 MOA red dot. And I'm excited to use this because the window in it is a circle rather than like an arc. And I just feel like it brings everything to the center. If you can see, it brings everything to the center. The window is so big and you feel like you can just see everything. Like, it's so good. And I'm really, really excited to use this setup for regionals in Arizona. Eventually, I do want to change my gun out to a staccato, but I just love my Glocks so much. Actually, since this one is engraved, it means a lot to me. We'll see about my next competition, but this is what I'm gonna go with for regionals in Arizona. I think that is it for my overall video. Like I said, Nationals was so fun. It was 3 days long. It was exhausting, so tiring. And regionals in Sierra Vista in Arizona is only 2 days long this time, which I'm very thankful for. But I am planned to just kill it this time. I'm staying in the tactical division, and I really want to get first place in that and hopefully be able to go back to nationals and get first place there. So I'm really gunning for that. But like always, I try to go and just have a really good time and have fun with it. I try not to put too much pressure on myself because it gets in my head, and if I can just work as hard as I can and shoot as accurately as I can, that's what means the most to me. So I'm gunning for first, but we're gonna have fun with it and be safe like always. I really hope that these videos encourage people to get involved in something like this or get involved in the tactical games themselves. But my mission is to really help people better themselves and push themselves. I have this saying, it's do big things. And if you look on my Instagram, it says do big things in my bio. And I've said that to all my clients for the past 9 to 10 years. And what it really means is to like go out and do things that are going to make you better than you were yesterday, that are going to push you mentally and physically, that are going to challenge you. And I just want people to try and do things that they are fearful of so that they can overcome that. If you've seen my Instagram, you've seen that I have a full spinal fusion, and I want people to be able to overcome injuries and surgeries and know that they're not broken, that they can continue to do big things and do things that people have told them that they should be limited on, and no one should feel limited. So that's what all of these videos are for, and I really hope that they encourage you to really push yourself to do something that's challenging. But if you guys have any questions on anything that I talked about today, please leave a comment below and ask me about it. I feel like I left things out. I feel like I do that in every video. I really hope you guys like these videos, so please, if you do, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all soon. Bye.